the Psi Warrior, you awaken psionic power within. A Psi Warrior is a fighter who augments their physical might with psi-infused weapon strikes, telekinetic lashes, and barriers of mental force. Many Githyanki train to become such warriors, and do some high elves. In the world of Eberron in particular, and there are other examples of Psi Warriors. So a Psi Warrior, you may have honed your psionic abilities through solo discipline. You may have unlocked it under the tutelage of a master, or refined it at an academy of some kind as well. This is very much the Jedi Knight of D&D.
Yes.
You're looking to be Darth Vader. If you're looking to be Luke Skywalker or anything like that, this is the subclass for you.
Yeah, play a goblin cyanite and be Yoda. Take the telekinetic feat.
Oh, that's adorable. I haven't even thought about that. Then you get that fury of the small. You're just jumping in.
Yeah. Doing all those flips. Yes.
Are you comfortable breaking down psionic power?
Yes, let's do it. Psionic Power is their first third-level feature. It's their only third-level feature, and it has quite a number of little choices to be made within it. So, you harbor a wellspring of psionic energy within yourself. This energy is represented by your psionic energy dice, each of which are a d6. We're seeing some similarity to the Battle Master already.
Yep.
You have a number of these dice equal to twice your proficiency bonus, and they fuel various psionic powers you have, which are detailed below. Some of your powers expend the die that they use, as specified in the power's description, and you can't use a power if it requires you to use a die when all your dice are expended.
Right.
You regain all of your expended psionic dice when you finish a long rest, and in addition, as a bonus action, you can regain one expended die, but you can't do so again until you finish a short rest. So this is a little bit fiddly, but it seems like the balance is solid, and it's in keeping with the fact that the fighter is more or less a short rest focused class. A lot of fighter abilities come back in a short rest. Mm-hmm. So this allows you to extend your wellspring of psionic power a bit by taking those short rests that you already want to be taking throughout the day.
It is another thing that you need to keep track of, not unlike the Battlemaster, but we saw this in the Soul Blade, the Soul Knife as well.
And fortunately, the fighter is not a particularly paperwork-heavy class to begin with, so adding a little bit of extra complexity on there, not a big deal.
What are some of these abilities that we're looking at?
Yes. Protective Field is one of them. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend one psionic energy die, roll the die, and reduce the damage taken by a number rolled plus your intelligence modifier when you create a momentary shield of telekinetic force. Damage ablation is always a great thing for a fighter to have. The fighter is a very offense-focused class most of the time, as opposed to the barbarian, which is quite tanky. And so being able to extend your own sort of defensive power to another, or to really focus it in on you, great.
Yeah, I really like this, and it kind of reminds me of the Graviturgist being able to cause someone's melee attack to actually do a little extra damage.
Yeah.
This is kind of the opposite of that. You're like pushing your force against them.
Yeah. The second psionic ability is Psionic Strike. You can propel your weapons with psionic force. Hey, speaking of, once on each of your turns, immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you with an attack and deal damage, you can expend one of your dice, rolling it and dealing force damage equal to the number you rolled plus your intelligence modifier. So just like you said, this is a very self-focused damage buff.
Yes.
And if you really wanted to, this is a fighter that could go full Nova, right? They have extra attacks already. They got Action Surge. If you're a fifth level fighter with an Action Surge and 2 attacks, you already have something like 6 psionic energy dice. You could add this damage to every single one of your attacks in the turn and still have some left over, just to deal a huge amount of damage all in one, all in 4 fell swoops.
Yeah, do not be fooled. This thing can exactly what you said. Some people complain about the Rune Knight being nerfed, and I disagree. I think the Rune Knight is fantastic, but the Psionic Strike is like just boom. Then you have nothing left.
yeah, but take a short rest and you see a little bit of it come trickling back.
Yeah.
And last of all, there's telekinetic movement. You can move an object or a creature with your mind. As an action, you target one loose object as large or smaller, or one willing creature than yourself. And as long as you can see it and it's within 30 feet, you can move it up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Alternatively, if it's a tiny object, and most weapons are tiny objects, you can move it to or from your hand. Luke in the Wampa Ice Cave grabbing the lightsaber to free himself. Either way, you can move the target horizontally, vertically, or both. And once you take this action, you can't do so again until you take a short rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to take it again.
Right.
All very, very cool things. We have an attack buff, a defense buff, and a more utility-focused power.
Invisible mage hand.
Yeah. I would highly recommend DMs who have a player with this fighter in their party, if they want to do something that isn't like quite within the purview of any of these, but it doesn't seem like particularly more powerful than it. Just kind of have them use that psionic energy die as a resource to do whatever cool improvisational thing they want to do.
Well, imagine if you're in a scenario where there's like a wagon loose just going down a hill and it's going to hit a bunch of villagers. You can just be like, no. Or maybe you can at least slow it down, maybe.
Yeah, make a strength check from a distance, just like, boom. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think this gets into that realm of DM player relationship in terms of like illusion spells, and that give and take of like, okay, what can I really do? Can I slow the impact of, it would be interesting if there was more wording here, and certainly you don't want to become a full monk, but it'd be interesting if you could slow your own fall.
Yeah.
A little bit, but who knows?
Yeah. The next feature, the Telekinetic Adept one, extends these psionic powers even a little bit further. Do you want to talk about those, Todd?
Yeah, so we've got Psi Powered Leap. As a bonus action, you can propel your body with your mind. You gain a flying speed equal to twice your walking speed until the end of your current turn. Once you take this bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to do it again. I really like this. You effectively have psionic points again.
Yeah.
Very much from second edition in a way. The fact that you can just fly instead of jump is entertaining to me. So
it does make me think of the prequel Jedi a little bit. Duel of the Fates. They're jumping 60 feet in the air and stuff, coming to the next platform.
And able to maneuver. And what's important about that, from fly to jump, even though it ends at the end of your turn, is I imagine kind of this video gamey Super Mario thing of happening, right? Where, you've made your jump, but you can still move.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. right during the jump, to adjust to hit the platform.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're doing here. Teleconnect Thrust. This is a very, very Jedi thing to do. When you deal damage to a target with your Psionic Strike, you can force that target to make a strength saving throw against a DC equal to your strength proficiency bonus +8 and your intelligence modifier. If that fails saves, you can knock that target prone or move it up to 10 feet in any direction horizontally. That's fantastic. Prone's wonderful. Knocking someone 10 feet, that might kill somebody, right? Knock them off a cliff. What if you got a whole knockback party? You got a warlock with, Eldritch Blast, Repelling Blast. You got someone knocking out Thunder. I forget what Thunder spell it is. Thunder Wave, and then you got this person as well. You're just pushing people back. You got an Artificer with a repulsor shield. I wouldn't want to climb a mountain against those people.
I think that's great. If you want to be the kind of party that really digs into tactical movement on a grid, having these push and pull features, is just great. It's just a lot of fun.
And one for hilarious action. So
yes.
So we've got Guarded Mind at 10th level.
Yeah, this is a nice simple one. Fighters gain a lot of subclass features. I think they get 5. Guarded Mind allows you to bolster your mind with psionic energy, giving you resistance to psychic damage, a very rarely resisted damage type. And moreover, if you start your turn charmed or frightened, you can expend a psionic energy die and end every effect on yourself, subjecting you to those conditions. Pretty nice.
Pretty nice.
Charmed and frightened don't happen all the time, generally because they're pretty disruptive features for a monster to have.
Yeah.
But there are some nasty abilities that inflict not just charm, but I think about the charmed and frightened conditions is that while the conditions themselves are generally fairly tame, unique instances of those conditions tend to have really nasty rider effects that go on. Like, I can't think of what exactly it is, but there are certain charms that like reduce your speed to 0, or make you cower in place, completely subservient. This is a great get out of jail free card for those mind affecting creatures.
Yeah, that key is and every effect on yourself subjecting you to those conditions. That's a big one. You're just canceling those spells. That's important. That shows your level of willpower at this point. So we've got at 15th level, we got Bulwark of Force. You can shield yourself and others with Telekinetic Force. As a bonus action, you can now choose creatures which you can include yourself that you can see within 30 feet, up to the number of creatures is equal to your intelligence modifier. Each of those chosen creatures is protected by half cover for 1 minute until you're incapacitated. Once you take this bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend psionic energy die to do so again. So what do we get from half cover?
Half cover is pretty simple. It's a flat +2 bonus to your armor class.
Right. That's great. For at 15th level, maybe I might have expected a bit more. I don't know. I would have to play this through, but that's giving a hefty little AC bonus to everyone around you.
Oh, and to your dexterity saving throws as well. Pardon me.
Yeah. Okay. So this is to your dexterity. Yeah, the dexterity saving throws as well. That makes me much more happy. So. Yeah.
It's the thing I like about this feature is that it's a bonus action for the first thing, which lets you do a lot of other things on your turn, but also its rechargeability. It only wants you to do it once per long rest, unless you spend your other resource to do it some more. That's something we're seeing a lot more of in modern D&D class design, giving you a hard cap, but also giving you a way to sneak more uses in if you really, really need to do it.
It's got a little bit of a Magneto flavor of like maybe now on the battlefield within 30 feet of you, everything is starting to feel your manipulation, your control. So when someone swings the sword, maybe it has a higher chance of you pushing it away from your party, right?
Yeah, I can just imagine the flavor of when a creature enters this area. It's kind of like they have to push through water in order to move because the pressure you're exerting is just so strong.
Now that would have been interesting to also have added
difficult terrain.
Difficult terrain.
Yeah. I think that would be cool.
We have a psionic. I believe we have a psionic caster that does do that later on, but a little bit more acutely. But yeah, that's a good point. That would have been kind of fun. Maybe too much though.
Maybe too much. No, we'll see.
Tell me about the Telekinetic Master. We are now at the end of the Psi Knight.
Yes, Telekinetic
Psi
Master.
Warrior. Sorry, Psi Warrior.
This is their 18th level feature, practically a end of class capstone. Your ability to move creatures and objects with your mind is matched by few. You can cast a telekinesis spell, a 5th level spell, requiring no components, and your spellcasting ability is intelligence. On each of your turns, while you concentrate upon the spell, you can concentrate on it for up to 10 minutes. You can make one attack with a weapon as a bonus action. So even if you're not dual wielding, you get a little bit more out of it while you're telekinetically active. And once you cast a spell with this feature, you can't do so again until you take a long rest, unless you spend a psionic energy die to cast it again. Being able to spend one of these psionic energy dice, of which you have 12 at this point, to cast a 5th level spell, that's pretty good. And telekinesis is not a chump spell either. There's some pretty wild stuff in here. You can move a huge or smaller creature to like move it up to 30 feet in any direction, including upward, but not beyond 60 feet from you. You can move objects that weigh up to 1,000 pounds and 30 feet in any direction. There is a lot of creative stuff.
A lot of cars are under like 500 pounds.
Right.
Modern cars probably far less. So
the fact that you get to do this and you get more damage output while doing it, just like innately, makes this a pretty beefy feature that I like a lot.
Yeah, this is pretty strong. And again, telekinesis is probably easily one of those it is the utility spell in many ways. when you're wandering around the battlefield, or like you said, moving rocks out of the way or whatever. Basically saying nope to a huge creature. There's a lot going on here that's really fun. Yeah, I think this is a great capstone, especially at 18th level. I think this kind of rounds out everything that you're about. You control everything around you, psionically. You control the force that binds all things in D&D. You know, you're tugging on the strings of the weave. Mm-hmm. You're not turning it into anything in particular. You're just good at this, like yanking on the weave, right?
It's like yeah, the strands of the weave kind of like flow around every creature, and rather than turning it into fire, you just kind of know how to pull on one strand and feel someone else just kind of be yanked forward by it.
You just punch everyone with the weave. Is what you're doing. Yeah, I think this is really fun. I think this is really giving people what they want. You know, they didn't include force choke, but other than that, you know, from Darth Vader, you're getting everything that you wanted to.
Yeah.
Out of this subclass. It's super fun. I love the art, by the way, if you get a chance to check that out.
Yes.
All the art in Tashas is exquisite. I'm obviously a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of the Cauldron. Yeah, so I love all three of these subclasses. Super fun. Is there one for you that you like in particular?
Ooh, of these three, as soon as we started talking about the Psi Warrior, I mentioned that I played one in 3rd edition. I loved it, and this seems like a worthy successor. The Psi Warrior in 3rd edition was basically just a psionic eldritch knight. Mm-hmm. But this guy really feels like kind of his own thing because of those unique psionic abilities that the class is granted. I would definitely work with my DM if I were playing this subclass to add a little bit more improvisational ability into it, I think, just because I love that sort of spur of the moment cinematic stuff. Mm-hmm. But what's presented here is not weak by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. I totally agree that this much like monks encourages you to describe the combat that you're in. Mm-hmm. And describe some maybe more. It definitely makes you more of a thinking player when we're looking at being able to manipulate things around the battlefield. It makes things very interesting. And you know, I played a lot of West End Star Wars, a lot of the Star Wars edition after that, when Wizards of the Coast, I believe, or Hasbro was in charge of Star Wars. I played all the Star Wars.
It was the Saga edition, right?
Yeah, Fantasy Flight Games as well. You know, I could see a couple of old characters, old friends from Star Wars games easily getting shoved into the D&D universe quite easily with this. Again, this is itching a scratch that a lot of people have been asking for. And I think that's why it's going to be hugely successful, and it's super fun. So, well, thank you everyone for watching Todd Talks. I've been joined by my amazing lead writer, James Haeck.
I'm
just going to call you Jeremy Haeck. You're just part Jeremy, part Haeck. Combined two very well-known designers.
Anyway, I'm James Haeck.
Yeah, so anyways, he's our lead writer at D&D Beyond. Thank you so much for watching our Todd Talks. We're going to be going over a lot more subclasses in Tashas and features as well. You can find the purchase link in chat right now. It is one of my favorite D&D books. I highly recommend it. There are a lot of options for players and DMs as well. Thank you so much for watching.
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is available now on D&D Beyond. Purchase before January 5th to unlock the Cauldron dice set, as well as character sheet backdrops, themes and frames.